the 1989 Winston. So let's talk about this race. All right. I think it's going to take about 8 or 10 minutes to talk about this. So we're in the late stages of the Winston, and you see Darrell Waltrip up there, and you're driving the crap out of your Kodiak Pontiac. What are you thinking as you're catching him?
Well, I'm going to back up for just a second.
Yeah.
We started the race, and that car I had was so fast it was unreal. So we just jetted out and won the first stage.
Okay.
All right, came down, put 4 tires in the car, and went out for the second stage. There was 3 stages.
Yeah.
Went out for the second stage, and all of a sudden the car is just really loose, really bad loose. I'm holding on to it. Darrell gets past me. He wins the second stage. I come down pit road. They changed tires. For the final stage, Barry Dotson, my crew chief, comes across the radio and says, Rusty, we figured the problem out. So what happened? Man, you're not going to believe this. We accidentally got the right rear tire on the right front and the right front on the right rear.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a 1/2 inch difference in tire stagger, meaning that I'll never forget the numbers. Mm-hmm. We were running an 88.5 inch diameter right front tire and an 88 right rear.
Okay, hold on. Remember this. Everybody's amazed by Mark Martin rattling off his chassis numbers from his ASA days. How the fans are going to want to know right now, how do you remember that?
You got to know it to be successful. I know you and I fought about it. We've had a lot of people fought about it. Let's put it this way. That's the only way I knew how to do it. I had to control my own destiny. I had to understand every setup on my car. I had to know the compression, the rebound on my shocks. I had to know the air pressures. I had to know the tire stagger. And that's just the way it was.
So in 1989, so many years ago, you still remember the circumference of the tires. Okay, go ahead. I did my best. You don't remember last week, but he remembers 1989, the size of the tires.
So you start to race the cars. We practiced the car. It's all set. It's got an 88.5 inch right front tire on it. It's got an 88 inch right rear tire on it. And so it would have had an 87 left rear and would have had an 87 left front diameter. Okay. Yeah. And that's the way the car loved to be. So we won the first segment in a big manner, just drove off. Second segment, the car's just loose. I'm like, this is weird. It just doesn't happen that bad. All right, Barry Dotson comes across after the second segment. He says, we found a problem. We've accidentally put the right rear in the right front, meaning we had a big right rear tire in the car, which made it super loose. All right, so now the last segment, we get the car right. We get the tires back right. Darrell takes off. He jets out, and I'm like, man, this hot rod of mine is back to normal now. It's really feeling good. So I run him down, get into turn 3, and I got right to his bumper, and so I said, didn't get the job done. So now we're getting down to like 5 laps to go, okay? Because I think it was only like a 10-lap run or something.
$250,000 to win?
$250,000. Darrell says, I hope you choking that two.
That's later.
He says, I hope you choking that 200, but it was 250. Okay?
Yeah.
So anyway,
all 50.
3 or 4 laps to go. I sail that baby down the back straight. This thing is handling like a real hot rod, and I sail it down into turn 3. I never did less than screw it. I'm not lifting. I held it wide open and went in this long drift, and I got right to his left rear quarter panel. Just barely touched him. And I thought maybe he'd wiggle a little bit, but he ended up spinning out. Anyway, I went on to win the race. The craziest thing is that my great friend, Rick Hendrick, owned the team that Kenny Schrader was driving. And the boys put a phone call into Kenny Schrader and said, hey, he was running second at the time, Kenny was, on the restart of this race.
So you spin Darrell out, caution comes out, now they're going to restart the race.
Yeah, and Kenny's running second. He gets a phone call from his boys, hey, ruffle Rusty up a little bit.
Yeah.
He pulls up alongside me, and I looked over him like this. I said, don't even think about
it. Because we grew up with Kenny Schrader in St. Louis, so homies.
I said, I can read your mind. I said,
sign language.
I said, don't even think about it. They dropped the hammer, and I was gone. And then old Hot Rod just checked out, and I won the Winston. Got the $250,000, and all hell broke loose. The whole damn infield was in a fight. Everybody's screaming and hollering. When it was all said and done, I'm in Victory Lane. After Victory Lane was over, they put me in an ambulance because they thought they were going to kill me, the fans were. They were so mad at me. They put me in an ambulance, snuck me out, took me up to the top of the Speedway Tower for this presentation. I walked in there and everybody booed me. Everybody.
No.
Boo! Boo! It was the most humiliating thing in the world. They put me back in an ambulance and
I didn't know this.
and drove me to my house in Concord. I went to bed that night. They took 2 police officers, stationed them in my bedroom that night at my house, downstairs in the living room. My daughter Katie gets up in the middle of the night. She walks out of her room and she sees 2 police officers there. She comes flying upstairs. She goes, Mom and Dad, there's and the Katie's only like 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad, there's police officers. What's going on? I said, I looked at her and said, well, Katie, it was a long night. It's a long story. I'll tell you tomorrow.
Wow.
And so the fans were going to kill me. They were so mad at me. It's unreal.